I always feel like it's a really, really good song as soon as I start to hit when the timer ends. Making tech sense, we're going to talk about that. That's one thing that we're going to cover here. So welcome everybody. Good evening. Good to be here. Thanks for joining. I'm going to show you some different things. So if you were here this morning, you probably heard a lot of this. So this is going to be different. So I had a couple issues today with some of the BSS min rate stuff I was trying to do and show you. So I sat down and I had a very long, very good conversation with one of our tech support engineers, went through a ton of stuff, looked at it, and I really kind of dug into his brain about if you as a customer were to call and you were facing some of these issues, what he would do specifically, in what order, and why. And it was extremely eye-opening, and it was really cool to see. So I'm going to be able to share some of that information with you. I'm also going to share how to do a lot of this stuff that we're talking about. So like I said, everybody's at home, and now making tech sense, like you said, you have kids at home and they're streaming wirelessly, they're doing their classes, and it's a challenge. So we're going to try and make this easier for you. And there's one thing, so people tend to rely on internet speed tests a lot. And I'm not saying they're bad. So what happens is your internet provider calls you and says, hey, Mr. Customer, guess what? We're going to offer you 1 gigabit internet speed. And everything, wow, that's really fast, because it is. And you think that's awesome. And then you pull up your speed test after you get everything installed, and you have, your Ruckus wireless equipment in there and your ICX, and your results come back and you think, well, that is not 1 gigabit per second. You're not going to get that. And it's not the Ruckus equipment fault. It's not the internet provider's fault. There are so many different things that go into it that make it nearly impossible for that to really happen. Yes, not guaranteed. And that's a really big caveat that we have to pay attention to. Okay. So I'm going to show you something. I'm on an exception list because of these live streams. So I'm sitting in our office right now, and I thought, you know what, for fun, I'm going to run a speed test. And I did. That's what I got. I have a 114 megabit per second download and a 22 megabit per second upload. Okay. Now, I'm on a shared medium in an office on a business link. Okay. How many different things come into that and really affect that is a lot. I may be in my house and I get 1 gigabit speed from my cable modem to the box down the street where everything connects, but then I have 50 other households that are coming into it. And that really poses a challenge, and it's not fair to you to see these advertised speeds that you're supposed to be getting, and then you look at a speed test like this and you're like, wow, that really sucks. I'm not getting what I was sold. Well, let me explain why. Okay. If I went home right now and ran this exact same speed test, my speeds would probably be triple to quadruple of that. Okay. Now my home Wi-Fi network is using Ruckus hardware, and the way that my house is physically cabled, it's impossible for me to configure a wired mesh. So I have 3 access points in my house, and I can't mesh them via a cable. I wish I could. It would be awesome if I could do that, but I have to mesh it over the air. And that poses another problem. So when you mesh over the air, you lose 50% of your bandwidth on that access point. So you basically have to take whatever your guaranteed speed is on that access point and cut it in half. Okay. So we know that we have 2 different bands that use wireless. Okay. We have 2.4 gigahertz, which is ABG, 802.11 ABG, and you've seen those. And then you have 5 gigahertz, which is newer, and that's AC, AN, AX, things like that. Okay. Faster speeds is what you're supposed to get out of that. In most cases, especially at home, for you with Wi-Fi, I would say that you could expect speeds to be around 400 to 500 megasecond. Okay. And that's using a speed test application. There's hundreds of them out there. You can try any of them. You should see something around there. If you're not, and it's significantly lower, then a lot of the stuff that we're going to cover here we should be able to talk about that and really kind of outline some of this stuff for you. So within a Lennar home, which is where we have a lot of hardware, and that's what the Ruckus at Home series was really targeted at initially, but then we realized that there's a lot of people out there that like our hardware and it functions really well, so let's expand this and just talk about Unleashed in general. If you have an R510, it can't push 1 gigabit speeds. Even at 5 gigahertz, it's not going to happen. And there's a reason for that. So what you can, just using this access point as an example, okay, just the R510. At 2.4 gigahertz, in the most utopian perfect scenario ever that you could ever come up with, you're going to get about a 300 megabit per second transfer rate, okay? And I'll talk about what those conditions mean in a minute, okay? At 5 gigahertz, you're looking at a maximum of 867 megabits per second, okay? To put this into perspective for you, if you were to stream real, true 4K high definition television over a Wi-Fi connection, you need a 25 megabit per second connection. 25 megabits, that's it. So when we look at these speed tests and think, oh man, this sucks, I'm not going to be able to do anything with it, trust me, you can do a lot with it. So when we talk about conditions that we have to have in these arenas and areas and, you know, offices, homes, everything, it gets a little complicated because if you pull a Wi-Fi analyzer up, which I don't have one installed on my work machine, I do have one on my personal machine so I can see what my neighborhood wireless is doing. And if I look at the 2.4 gigahertz band, it looks like 3,000 people crammed into one chair. It's a simple way to put it. I know it's a terrible joke, but it's so condensed and so overlapped and there's so much in there that I expect it to suck. I mean, it's not the hardware's fault. It's the simple fact that there's so much saturation in that wireless spectrum, right? 5 gigahertz gets a little bit better because you have so many more channels that you can use and it spreads things out better. You know, and that really helps. But the 2.4 gigahertz area is where we really look at it and think, ooh, that's rough. So if you have a security system and you have a doorbell that's a video doorbell, okay, the majority of those doorbells only have a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi chip in them. That's all they support. And that means we have to run 2.4 gigahertz somewhere, okay? But it doesn't mean we have to run it everywhere. So the first thing we have to do is sit down and figure out what devices in our environment are old enough that they have to be supported, okay? Today's day and age, technology it's outdated pretty quick because there's something new always coming, always. And in the Wi-Fi world, the clients really kind of control what's going on in the environment, okay? So what do I mean by that? Most homes are built with a mesh, okay? Most office environments are built with a mesh. And to really sit down and go through the meshing on it, we have to look at what's happening. So let's take, for example, we have a 2-story house, okay? I have one access point upstairs and I have one downstairs. When I look at how my client's going to decide which access point to connect to, typically by looking at the base default configuration out of the box, plug it in, set it up, what's going to happen, my client, which could be my phone, right, is going to attach to that access point, and that access point is going to hold on to that client's connection, and the client itself is going to hold on to that access point connection for dear life, regardless of what happens, okay? Well, now I walk downstairs, I might still be connected to my access point upstairs, and that is not ideal. It's just not ideal at all. So we want to get to a point to where the clients are now seeing a slight degradation in what's happening in the connectivity, okay? So the clients, you have to understand, the clients make the decision. If they're going to switch from one access point to another, the client does that. The phone, the access point doesn't say, hey, I'm losing your signal here, man. I got to toss you to the other access point. They don't do that. The clients do. So we're going to help set the access points in a way that says, you know what? I kind of need you to really let go of me and go to the next one. And Andrew, I've got the perfect solution for you. Let me just run through this real quick and I'll tell you exactly how to fix that because I know exactly what happened. I'm willing to bet you had a power outage at a certain point. I'll help you fix it, okay? So the clients make that decision. So we're going to look at a couple of things. And after having discussions with support today, learning what they really look at to put those tools in place, it's going to be perfect. So, okay, Andrew, you have a couple things going on. Do me a favor, stick with me. We're going to stick it out. I'm going to ask you some questions about that, and we'll absolutely see what we can do to make it work, okay? Are there any lights on the ICX right now? Is there power on it? Does it power up? Does it not power up? Anything? Let me know. Also, do you have a USB to USB cable? It could be USB-A to USB-C or USB to USB. Let me know. I'll help you out with that. Making tech sense. You mentioned you got an R610. So first of all, congratulations. That's an awesome access point. The main difference with the 610 and the 510 is the 610 is a 3x3x3. So what that means is it has 3 transmit antennas, 3 receive antennas. Okay. Our 510s have 2, so 2x2. The way that these access points really work is they're really kind of set up to allow 150 access points to connect in a mesh, right? So we want to make sure that we don't get outside of that. So making tech sense, one question I have for you is that your only access point in your house, or are you going to run multiple access points and mesh them? Okay. Andrew, don't sweat it at all. I'm going to show you. In fact, check this out. I have all of the hardware that you probably have in your house, and that's exactly what it looks like. You can see it. So, okay, TechSense, that's perfect. So some of this stuff won't apply to you because nothing's going to roam in the way that we would in a mesh. But we can still make sure that everything's kind of set up and squared away and you don't have to worry about anything, okay? What I would recommend is if you don't have any devices that are going to run an 802.11b, which you're pretty savvy, I'm going to assume that you don't, we're going to disable that. So what I do with OFDM, do that. Turn that off. Don't even let it work. And then we'll actually set your BSS min rate to probably, I don't know, we'll shoot for 11. That basically deletes the 802.11b functionality. So if you don't have anything connecting that way, you don't need it, you're probably not going to go buy something that's going to be that old anyways, you can get rid of it, okay? So Andrew, what you see on the screen right here is the ICX 7150 C12P. I have an R510, and I also have a surfboard or a cable modem, okay? And that's just there to show you where things plug in. If you have the ability, can you see the front of the 7150 and does it have power lights? Is that green light on the left over here? Let me go over here. I'll unplug everything. Is that light on right there? That green one that you can see. Okay, we will absolutely help you out. We'll get you taken care of. That's what we're here for. So while you do that, grab your laptop, run in the closet, pull the stream up so you can chat with us. I'm going to stay here until you get that thing up and working. So I'm more than happy to help. And like I said, find a USB cable. We'll take care of you. So first things first, let's look at, yeah, you bet, man. That's what we're here for. So happy to help. So let's do this. First thing I want to do is I kind of want to talk through the roaming piece, okay, and really the methodology that you would put behind this. So I'm going to go with the assumption that we don't have anything running at 802.11b. I don't, and I have some pretty old stuff in my house that I tinker with once in a while. I'm assuming you probably don't either. So to do this, you know, I'm going to, and TechSense, I know that this is probably, you've seen this, but I have to do this because of the actual recording of it. But what we're going to do is in my demo here for Unleashed, I'm just going to log into it real quick. Okay. And to find this stuff, I have to create an SSH session to the access point itself. And to do that, I want to make sure that I find the correct IP address. So when I look at this and I see my access points, okay, I would most likely in a house have a mesh, but here I only have one. go to the access point in question, which I'm always looking for the master, and I'm going to go to System Overview, and I'm going to grab the IP address. Hey, it's the same one as this morning. Look at that. So then I'm going to pull up, oh, Nightbot just got cranky about something. I wonder if that was the poll. That's funny. Okay. Let me do this. So now I need to open a PuTTY session. So if I go to PuTTY, I'm going to restart this session. Okay. I'll log in, do admin twice. So admin, put my password in and then enable. Okay. Now, the confusion this morning was I was trying to modify my 2.4 gigahertz radio and my 5 gigahertz radio separately. You can't. So roam profiles you can, like your roam factor. Well, that's something we use last when it comes to roaming. Okay, the roam factor is if we can use the actual connection speed that we have. Because remember, the BSS min rate is really handling the control and the management traffic. So even though you have a client connected and you might be streaming traffic to Netflix, YouTube, whatever you might be doing, there's still control traffic that has to happen back and forth between the access point and between the client. We have to keep that session sane. We have to make sure everybody's happy, right? So we're going to modify that to say, okay, Mr. Client, if you can't connect to me at least 11 megabits per second, you're going to roam off of me and you're going to go to the other access point. That means you're probably closer to another one, and that means you're probably better off on that access point. Okay. So to do this, what we need to do, and it's really pretty simple. You do in your SSH session to your Unleashed client, you do AP-mode, okay, and then you just simply type get WLAN list. I care about one WLAN, and that's my Ruckus at home WLAN. That's really the only one I care about because A, it's the only one I have configured with any clients on it, and B, let's say that's my main WLAN within my house, okay? So I have it, I'm good to go. Okay, oops, quit. Okay, now we need to do two separate pieces here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to disable the 802.11b piece. And making tech sense, this is for you. So you want to make sure that you do this and run it in OFDM only mode. Okay. So I'm going to type config. I'm going to type WLAN. Okay. Now I'm modifying the WLAN. I'm not touching the individual radios. I'm modifying the entirety of the WLAN. And then I'm going to do OFDM only. Okay, that's it. So what that does is it effectively removes any rates below 6 megabits per second. I can't do 1 megabit per second, 2 megabits per second, or 5.5 megabits per second anymore. It forces the minimum into 6 megabits per second. So 802.11b clients will not connect anymore. Okay, so be darn certain that you don't have any clients doing that. Okay. Now, once you do that and making tech sense, if you ever get to the point where you add another access point and you're running a mesh, well, now the key is, okay, let's actually modify our BSS min rate to, I don't know, let's say 11, 12. We usually use 12 as a starting point. You can adjust down from there. You can go down to 6. You can go to 11. You can really touch anything in there. So you just do BSS min rate, and we'll do 12. Okay. That set it. So the WLAN parameters now are set. It's going to force it that way. If I were in a mesh environment and I had the mesh sitting here in my office and I walked out and there was another access point on the other side of the floor and I walked over there, I would roam to that other access point and I would be able to see that happen. Okay. So now we just type end. It should force the changes to it. We'll exit out of that. Now I want to do show WLAN name Ruckus at home. Okay. Now we see that the BSS min rate is 12 megabits per second, exactly what we wanted. Okay. Whoops, too fast. And then here we can see that the transmit rate of management frames for both the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz radio is 12 megabits per second. The thing I would caution you on is if you do have 2.4 gigahertz clients attached, I would set your BSS min rate to 11. That way you don't end up isolating any of those older clients. If you have a laptop with older Wi-Fi drivers in it, anything like that, you don't run the risk of isolating that stuff at all. Okay, questions on that? If there are, let me know, because this is the time to do it. Okay, Andrew, here's the big question. So it powers up, you've got a power light on there. That's awesome. It's exactly what you need. Are green power light, green system light working? When I plug in USB to one of the 12 ports from the router, it's green. Okay. So what you need to do, I've got to figure out how to find your IP address of this guy. Can you force AC only? So Andrew, Rager, let me do this. Let me help Andrew real quick, and then I'll absolutely help you with that. So Andrew, what would really help? Do you have a Windows laptop or a Mac? Please tell me Windows. That'll make this so much easier. We need some form of a USB to a USB cable. If you have a USB to USB-C cable, like what you would plug into, I don't know, USB-C is a smaller one, but it's oval shaped instead of, has the slots. I'm trying to visually explain it. We kind of need one of those so I can get you into the console of the router and I can get your ports to provide power. Because that's what's going on. The ports aren't set for inline power. That's what's screwing you up. So if you can find the USB to USB-C cable or USB to USB, I can absolutely help you and get you set. Okay. Yeah, there you go. It's the exact same cable for newer Android phones. I would know that, but I'm an iPhone guy. So, Rager, yes, you can. And you're gonna put me on the spot because I have to go find it. There is a way to, in 200, so I guess this is my question. What version of Unleashed are you running? Are you running 200.7 or are you running 200.8 or are you not sure where that is? And I'm not asking to be condescending, I just want to make sure you know where to check for that. Yep. Pretty took care of it. Prado's the best. Okay, it's a CLI command. So I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot by doing this, but I'm not going to actually set the command. I believe it's an AP mode command in here, and you would do set mode Wi-Fi 11 AC. Okay. It should look like that. That should put it in AC only mode. If that's an absolute requirement, you bet, there you go. And that's awesome because you have the hardware that will support it. So that's how you do it. Okay. All right, Andrew, let's do this. So do me a favor. If I don't have a USB to USB cable. So we're going to have to find the IP address of your ICX, which is going to be some fun. So, do you have internet connectivity on the laptop that you're trying to use now? I'm assuming you do because you're on the stream. Can you go download this program? It's called Putty, P-U-T-T-Y, and it's really easy to do. Run out to Google, and you just do this. Oops. Download. Oh my goodness, I can't type tonight. Download Putty. And you just click on go to download. Go grab Putty. I'm going to help you try to ping some IP addresses until we find your ICX, and then we'll get you logged into it. And if it's running older software, hopefully we can get into it. There might not be a telnet server. So anything you can do to solve the USB problem would be very beneficial because it will make it easier for us to get into that ICX. So if you have an Android phone, if one of your neighbors has one, you can run over and grab it. I would be more than happy to help you with it and get you into it. So what Andrew's running into is... Oh, that's a fair point. Making TechSense just made a good point. You can actually look at the ARP table on your Windows machine and it'll tell you. So we'll help you with it. What he's running into is ICXs that run a software version less than, I want to say 8090. And it might be 8080. But they had to manually set power on the ports. Well, if you didn't save the configuration and you suffer a power hit and that ICX loses power, the ICX will still work, it just won't provide power to the access points, and that's why he's not able to get his access points up and online. So we're going to fix that for you. That's a piece of cake. What I'm going to do now... I know you can't see what I'm doing, but... Okay. So, Andrew, do you have a Ethernet cable plugged in from your laptop to your ICX? Let me add a window here. Pull in a window capture. Okay. I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you. I'm going to get through this with you. We'll get you online. Open a command window. So go hold down the window key on your keyboard and hit the letter R. And then just type Charlie Michael David, CMD. Charlie Michael David, that's it. And it'll open this window that you see on my screen here. Okay. And then I'll have you do a couple things. First thing I'm going to have you do is do an IP config. When you do that IP config, I'm looking for... I have 2 IP addresses, but you should probably only have one. I need this IP address. 192.168 0 dot something, 100 dot something, 10.0.0 dot something. It'll be something like that in there. It's a private IP address. You can put it in the chat. Nobody can do anything malicious. It's inside your own home. It's private RFC 1918 address space, so it's secure. It won't hurt you. Okay. And then we'll get you going from there. Okay. Let's see. Let me go through my super notes here that I had. Okay. So while you're gathering that, there's some other things you can look at from the Wi-Fi side of it too. One of the big ones is you have to play, if you set your BSS min rate, you have to toy with that a little bit just based on the behavior you're seeing from clients, okay? You can set it up, you can set it down. One thing you'll see in making TechSense, one thing you'll see for certain is that your clients will be transmitting at rates much higher than what you would get with, you know, anything else. You're going to see speeds well above 12 megabit per second. So, okay, let me read this, Andrew. I have a MacBook Pro laptop. Is that going to work? Yes, it will work. Also, just so I'm off to the very basics, I have an Ethernet cable running from router to port 1 on the ICX, and that's it. Okay, that's perfect. That's all you need. Do you have a way to run an Ethernet cable from the Mac to the ICX on your MacBook Pro? I know it probably requires a dongle, but do you have a way to do that? Hopefully you do. Okay. Other things you can look at is you can enable band balancing, and you can kind of force your clients to the 5G radio. Keep in mind, these are tuning things that you need to do if you're really seeing poor performance or if you're seeing frustration with it. And this is going to happen with any wireless environment. I mean, Wi-Fi, there's walls, there's windows, there's ceilings, there's floors, there's refrigerators. There's a lot of things that are happening in this space where we're trying to get this RF signal through, right? So you have to play with some of this stuff. If you have an analyzer, you can definitely go in and do an analysis on the different on the Wi-Fi spectrum that you see in your area. And you can start to just disable channels that exist on the 2.4 gigahertz band. So that will basically tell your access point, I want you to only use channel 8. Don't use any other channel. I disabled all of them because all my neighbors are using those. Only going to use channel 8. It's the cleanest channel I can find in my analyzer. Disable all those, then your clients have no choice but to use that channel, and it's really the cleanest lane you can find for it, right? And then the other thing you can do is you can, I don't want to go into that. So you can change your scanning mechanism. So we use something called channel fly. And what channel fly does is it kind of hops to make sure that all of the channels are as clean as possible. But you can change that to use background scanning. And there's different settings you can use for that. 2.4 gig, we recommend anything between 600 and 1000. 5 gig, we recommend 600. So you can kind of change how that background channel scanning happens just to really get you a little bit more sanity with that. One thing that Rager brought up earlier is you can enable 802.11n AC only. And that really comes down to how new your devices are in the house. I would love to do this in my environment, but I can't because I have devices that require 2.4 gig and slower speeds. So if I can ever get rid of that, I would be set. But that's the one thing I wish I could do, and I just can't do it. Andrew, if you can boot up a Windows laptop because it has an Ethernet port on it and you have an Ethernet cable that you can run from your laptop to the ICX and plug it into port 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or just a free port between 1 and 12, that would be, we just need you to be able to plug your laptop in from your laptop to the ICX. That's really all we need to be able to do. Leave your Spectrum router connection intact from your Spectrum router to your ICX, because that's how your ICX is getting an IP address. Okay. And then the other thing you can do is change your transmit powers. So one thing, let me hide this real quick. One thing that tends to happen a lot is our radios use an automatic transmit power. Keep in mind that most of your neighbors probably have, the out of the box Spectrum, Cox Cable, Xfinity, CenturyLink, whatever the different providers. I can speak to what's here local, but you end up with a lot of different providers' equipment in your neighborhood, right? And they're the cable modems and the Wi-Fi built into them is not as intelligent as this kind of stuff is, okay? So you can play with the transmit power. What that also means is now you're probably going to start to degrade other people's signals because you might be transmitting too hot. So you're sending out a really strong signal. So that's there. And you can toy with that if you need to. It's always an option, okay? And you can do that per radio. You can do it 2.4 gig, you can do it 5 gig, but you just go into edit the AP, you override the group config, and then you set it wherever you want. If you're savvy enough, you can go to minimum, full, halfway, quarter way, however you really want to do it. But you can absolutely do that, and it'll take perfectly good care of it. Okay? I play with mine. Obviously, I like to analyze mine a little bit. But yeah, however you need to do it. So, Rager, I wasn't sure that was an issue. I don't know if that was removed or not. If it was removed, I wonder if it was just removed from the UI, but it's still something that can be done within the CLI. All right, Andrew, here's the deal. Here's what I'm going to tell you to do, okay? If you can get into your ICX, and one thing to remember, this session is recorded, so you'll be able to come back tomorrow and watch this. It's going to be at about the 1 hour and 5 minute mark, okay? You need to get into the console of your ICX, or you need to be able to get into it somehow. So one thing you can do now, if you're on your Mac, open a terminal window. So hold down the command key and hit spacebar and just type terminal and hit enter. It'll open a terminal window. Don't ask me why I know that. And when you do that, I'm 99% certain it's the same command, but what you're going to type is very, very simple. You're going to type arp -a. Oh, wait, hold on. You're going to type this ifconfig space -a, just like that. This command won't work in Windows, but it will work on the Mac. Okay. And when you hit enter here, you're going to get a big long output, but towards the bottom, it should tell you your IP address. Okay. I wish I had the ability to get into a Linux box now. I might. Let me see if this works. Okay. What I basically need to do is I need to find your subnet, and your subnet will tell me, oh, that's awesome. I can't do that. Well, I'm on a different network, so I don't have the ability to do what I want to, but we just need to find your IP address. And it's a Linux output because Mac OS uses a FreeBSD subsystem. That's why you have a terminal window. So if we can find that, we can go in and figure out what your subnet is. I can have you ping the probable gateway. It's probably .1. And then I'll have you run the ARP command, and then I'll see if I can get you telnetted into it. If not, you'll have to get a USB to USB cable. I would recommend you do it on your Windows box just because it's 9,000 times easier. So get your Windows laptop out, plug the USB cable in, plug that into the ICX. I'll show you where the port, where it plugs into. And then I'll show you how to find the COM port. If you're going to use the USB cable for what you're doing tomorrow, it needs to be on the laptop. I can show you how to do that on the laptop. It's super easy. Using the Mac to get into the console on an ICX is a little bit more challenging, and I don't have a Mac I can put on the stream right now. It would take me too long to do it. So I would recommend use your laptop. Use the Windows laptop. It doesn't matter what version of Windows is running, probably 10. But when you do that, I think this is my overall display capture. So let me minimize this and see what happens. Nope, didn't capture it. Hold on, let me fix this real quick. Need this display. Okay, I need to hide. Hey, there we go. I need to hide this other one. Okay. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to your desktop. You're going to find this PC icon, my computer, whatever it's called. Right click on it and just go down to where it says manage. Okay. When this opens, you go to device manager. Okay. No, it's okay. I'm here to help you. That's what we're here for. So once we get into device manager, we're looking for ports, COM and LPT. Okay. And expand that. Okay. This is telling me that my USB to serial communication port is COM3. Okay. Perfect. That's all I need. I need COM3. That's it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open PuTTY. I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to go to new session. Okay. You should see a window like this the second that you open it. Okay. Go to serial. And when you have your USB cable plugged into your Windows laptop and you have the other end plugged into the ICX, which I'll show you in a second, you get that COM port. Yours will probably be different. Mine's 3. So I'm going to just take COM3 and hit enter. Okay. And it's going to open this window. Hit enter a couple times. Let me get this a little bit bigger here so you can see it. Okay. Now, what you'll need to do, these commands are going to be different. I'm running a newer version of software than you are in my ICX. But if I do a show inline power, you can see that I have 2 ports here that are showing on. And guess what? Those are my 2 access points because I have power going to them. Okay. What you need to do is physically look and see, look and see what ports your access points are plugged into. Okay. Let's say, for example, it's on port 5 and 6, because you probably have 2 access points in your house, I'm guessing. You type exactly this. Config T. Oops, you can't see that because my ugly mug's in the way. Okay, config T, and then you're going to do this. Interface, Ethernet, E for Ethernet, 1 by 1 by 5. Okay, enter. And then you just simply type inline power, enter. Okay, yours will look different than mine because mine automatically provides power by default no matter what. Okay, but I'll make sure that yours does too, even if it goes through a power hit. Once you do that, then you go to the second access point port and you type interface E 1 by 1 by whatever it is. I'm just using this as an example. 6. Okay. Inline power. Boom. You should see those ports light up. They'll turn green. It'll start to power it up. And then you'll be able to see that those access points coming up and online. When you're done, this is the most crucial part of the whole thing. Type end. That will take you out of configuration mode. Okay. And then you type write memory. What that does is router switches of all flavors. Ours use it's late. NVRAM, non-volatile RAM. I can put any configuration in here I want, but if I don't save it and it reboots, it will lose that config. Okay. So now I've done this configuration, now I've saved it, now I'm good to go, right? If you can find the IP address that you're on, that you have right now on your laptop, I can help you do this right now. That's a piece of cake. It's either going to start with 192.168 or it's going to start with 10 dot something. But if it's the one that's on the router from your provider, then no, but it should be 192 dot something, 10 dot something, or 172 dot something. If it's anything else other than that, that's the wrong one. Don't give us that one because that's a public IP address probably. Okay. While you're chasing that down, let me do this. I'm going to show you real quick where this cable goes. Okay. There is a port on here, and it's right here. Let me move this access point out of the way a little bit. It's right there. Okay, so you have this one, which is a console port. You have this one, which is your management port, and you have a USB port right here. You also have a USB-C port right here. So you can plug directly into that. USB goes into the other end, and then you're good to go. Okay. But yeah, if you find that IP address now, we can make this thing sing. We'll get it going for you no matter what. And you can even take a guess. You can type 10.0.0.1, see if it pings. You can type ping 192.168.0.1, see if it pings. We just need to get an ARP entry on your laptop so that we can go find the ICX and get you telnetted into it. Okay. Making tech sense. My question for you: do you have pretty much everything set that you need for your R610? I'm excited about that. I think you're going to get really good performance out of it. I really do. Let's see. This one. All right. Let's see here. What else do we have going on? We got the BSS min rate done. Some other fancy things done in there. What else? Oh yeah. I want to show you how, if you're having issues with, oh, let me read this here. I'm super excited for the 550 and the 650. In fact, I'm hoping to obtain a couple 650s for my house, actually. I have a laptop that has an AX chip in it. So I'm really excited to start tinkering with the 802.11ax or Wi-Fi 6E kind of stuff. But yeah, those products are really, really cool. And I'm a nerd, man. I admit it. So I've got a lot of different things going on inside my house. I tinker with some different things. I do some elk stack stuff so that I can see S-flow and things like that. So obviously, excuse me, I have different things going on in my own home, right? Than most people probably do. And sometimes it's probably overkill on top of that, but you know what? I don't care. It's fun. I really enjoy it. So yeah, I'm excited for those. I really am. I was going to try and fix this real quick while he's finding that. Edit. Pull that out. There. That error message should go away now. Nightbot's mad because it's trying to send a poll out and it's not working. Yeah, I am, Jared, I am too. I mean, I think I only have one device, well, two now, because my work laptop has an AX chip in it as well, but, yeah, I'm really interested to see how it goes. And the funny thing is I'm trying to do some stuff with cabling, and I'm trying to move some stuff around so that I can get my access points in a wired mesh. So the funny thing is when I do that, or I put my laptop, I'll probably be wired at that point. At least for when I'm gaming at night or tinkering around or doing whatever. But I'm really, really interested to see how their performance is. I think it'll be really, really fun to play with. So for sure. So making tech, since I've always had a guest network that had its own DHCP and was segmented from my other WLANs, I can't figure that out. What are you using to feed DHCP? Are you using your provider's router, or are you doing DHCP from the access point itself? Because that would split those networks out if you did that. But see, then it depends. I guess it would depend on how you had your DHCP scopes built. Did you just take the entire subnet and split it in half, give half to guest, half to the rest of it? Ah, okay. So you can do your different scopes there and then send everything towards one gateway. And its own DHCP was segmented from other WLANs. So even though you're on separate subnets, you really just have a routing segmentation. I mean, I guess I'd have to kind of get a little bit more detail on. So let me figure this out. You have your provider's cable modem, we'll call it, right? And then to that's connecting to your Netgear firewall. And then from there, I'm assuming you have a way to connect all of your access points and anything wired into that, whether it be through a hub, a switch, something. That's my assumption, right? I know that's a really strong assumption, but So okay, so that's the gateway. Do you have a way to create additional networks in there, I guess? Because it would have to be the DHCP server for everything, right? So I'm assuming yeah, if you have a lot of switches connected to it. So, are you using any VLANs anywhere? Because that might be part of the issue. If you have something on a VLAN separately, like in a guest network, and it's on a separate subnet, that Netgear might not know about it, or it might not be tagged going up to it correctly somewhere. That's what I was always look at. The one thing I always tell people, especially in wired environments, is you can tag it one way, but you still have to tag it the other way. So both ends of the link have to have that VLAN tagging on it somewhere, right? So that could be a possibility. Oh, so you're looking at isolating the clients, especially there. So I know that client isolation is here. And if I go to I think it's in the WLAN. Okay, Andrew, that's fine. If you're on your Mac, like I said, open a terminal window and then type that ifconfig -a. and you might even just be able to do ifconfig. And just tell us what the IP address is. We can still get you into it. I mean, I'll hang out here until we get you in there. But if the Mac is up, hold down Command, hit spacebar, type terminal, and then just type ifconfig. Okay. Advanced option, others. Yeah, so you can do your isolation here so that it stays isolated. If you have a firewall, you could also isolate it from the other VLANs as well, or the other subnets, which I would be more of a proponent doing. I guess so there's multiple ways to look at this, right? The number one way you can secure a network is to just unplug it. And I know that sounds a little facetious, but that's true. If you really want true security, you unplug it. But if you truly want those clients isolated, you could isolate the clients in your guest or your guest WLAN only, but then you would also need to make sure that those clients don't have any way to cross into your other subnets behind that firewall, right? So you don't want to kind of pinhole it in. So it basically has one route out. Yeah. The one that is not connected to the internet. Yeah, I mean, that's how I do it. So I don't have a Netgear firewall, I have a pfSense firewall. And I basically have an IoT VLAN that allows all my IoT devices to connect to the WLAN. It can get out and it cannot touch anything else internal. So, and I use MDNS to get everything back and forth between it. You know, that's really it. So yeah, that's a good question. Is DHCP not working, or you just want to isolate that subnet? Because you could do it either way. You could do it through the Netgear, or you could just do it through client isolation in your guest WLAN. I mean, that's one way to do it for sure. Okay. Andrew, did you get a terminal window open? Because I'm really curious. I want to get this thing fixed for you. I want to see your access points light up. That would be really cool to see. All right. I'll wait for answers to questions. Let's see. The other thing we did, I know I'm kind of hopping around a lot, but the other thing we did is we turned I see what you're saying. So I've never actually ran an unleashed access point in gateway mode. I rely on, to me, that's just not its job, right? So I rely on other tools to do that. You know, my firewall is my DHCP server. I think in terms of what you're trying to do and at the granular level you're trying to do it, which is awesome. I love to see this kind of thing happening. Yeah, the only way you can do that is if you determine that each of your WLANs belong to different VLANs. And based on how everything's physically connected, if you can get VLAN tagging done in the Netgear firewall, and it will actually tag traffic down, you know, to the next layer 2 device, then you can absolutely spread this out. That's what I do. All of my WLANs are on different VLANs, and that's because in my firewall, I can start to isolate those things, and I can allow certain things on one, but not the other. So I have 4 VLANs. I have one for, you know, our main Wi-Fi network. I have one for the kids network. I have one for my lab network, which is where I do all my tinkering. And then I have more for, or one more for IoT. Okay. I would look at the VLAN route. Okay, Andrew, so do this. Type, let me pull this window back up here. I'll show you the command. Yeah, look at the VLAN option. And honestly, if you guys are interested enough, send an email to ruckuslive@comscope.com and say, hey, we want to see, you know, the full on, let's nerd out and build this really cool, crazy home network, you know, kind of advanced kind of stuff, more than just plug and play. let us know. I would absolutely do that. That sounds like a ton of fun. Andrew, this is your config, right, or your command right here. It's ifconfig, and I think you can take the A out. So just type ifconfig, all one word, and hit enter. See if you can find your IP address in there. It should be 10 dot something or 192 dot something. Okay, and then just throw that in chat, and we'll help you find it. Okay. But yeah, I think in terms of what you're doing, you need VLANs to do that. And yeah, Rager's absolutely right. You have to have your VLAN tagging done correctly, because otherwise you'll get frames out, but you won't get any frames back because you're not tagging those frames coming down. But yeah, that'd be really fun to play with. So if the Netgear firewall supports it, I say go for it. That's the absolute best way to do it. And I know it's router on a stick or firewall on a stick. It's still on the same wire. But the software form is so good anymore that it really breaks that stuff out. And it'll take care of it. So yeah, Jared, I thought about that, but the next thing he's gonna have to do is run an ARP command on the terminal anyways, so, or a ping command. But yeah, if you can't find it that way, we can get you into network utility and you can get your IP address there as well. Okay. And that may be the easier way to do it. It just depends on how much you like Macs. I just transitioned from a Mac, and you will never believe the reason why. My daily driver at work was a Mac for years, and I loved it, and I swore I'd never go back, and planted my flag, and then immediately had to take it out, and it was mainly over the live streams. OBS is not Mac friendly. The stuff that we leveraged to do them was not friendly to a Mac, so I just moved to this, and I actually get awesome performance out of it, and a lot of stuff that we do, it's easier to do in Windows. So I'm a fan of both, but here we are. So I have zero complaints. Okay. But yeah, so TechSense, that's what I do. I run 4 VLANs on my firewall. Hopefully it'll support it. I tag all 4 of those in the firewall, and if Netgear firewalls are anything like pfSense firewalls, then you have my absolute condolences, because it took me a couple hours to figure out what they were really doing with them. It was not the most straightforward thing, and especially I have a routing and switching background, so I looked at this thing and thought, what are you doing? There was a firewall guy that did not consult with a network engineer on how to do that, but it works. So I got all the tagging done, and then I just have everything tagged accordingly in my switch, and then from the ICX, I'm tagging, on each access point that's plugged into it, I just tag all of the VLANs I need on it, on that one port. And then the access point's really simple. When you go into the WLAN and you just edit it. So for example, here, Ruckus at home, this would be like my home Wi-Fi network. You just go in here, and then under, I think it's WLAN party, access VLAN, I would just tell it what VLAN to use. Yeah, you're right. The pfSense thing was out of control. You're not seeing it. Okay, go to network utility on your Mac, and it should show you your IP address in there. I can't show you an example here, but you should be able to do the same thing. Hold down Command, hit spacebar, and it will pop up network utility, and you can find your IP address in there. But yeah, I mean, the pfSense thing was really confusing to me, but once I got it sorted out, it was great. But then say this is my home Wi-Fi network here that I have, that would be on VLAN 10, right? And then let's say that streaming is the WLAN we have set up for the kids, then I would just go in here into advanced options, priority, and here it would be 20, okay? And so I just have it all kind of set up, and it works really well, and then the firewall isolates everything out. But the cool thing is within the firewall itself, then you set your DHCP scopes for each VLAN, and then you use, since your firewall's the VLAN anyways, everything's going to route to it because everything's directly connected anyways, and it routes right out and you're good to go. So I'm pretty sure you should have the ability to do that. If not, and obviously don't work for them, but I am a proponent of pfSense. You can run them in a virtual machine. They also have a hardware appliance because I wanted to have physical separation of certain things. They sell it's an SG1100 box, and they're slick. Like I can't even begin to describe how well it functions. Oh, you're 100% right. I'm sorry. Yeah, so right here, access VLAN. I would just change that to 10. Or for this one, since this is the kids WLAN, I'd change it to 20. You just change it there and save it. Yeah, pfSense is pretty simple to use. I've only locked myself out of a couple of them that I'm willing to admit, but not many more than that. So, oh, there you go, Nightbot. Now the poll works. Yeah, and then you just set it for each WLAN. So this could be 10, streaming could be 20. You can set your access controls, everything like that. Sometimes I'll even set this to hide the SSID. You know, I mean, you can, you don't have to. It doesn't matter. It's still going to show up in the spectrum. It's just not going to broadcast it. It doesn't buy anything other than this is my secret hidden Wi-Fi network that does you no good. Okay. We did get some traffic going through application and recognition control too. And as you can tell, obviously, there's a lot of client-to-client traffic in here. CDN is always everywhere. Outlook, things like that. Hey, Michael, did you just talk about tagging or making VLANs in the ICX switch? I did. I tried that, but didn't understand the tagging part. Okay, so 192.168. Yep, that's it. Give us the rest of it, Andrew. I'll help you get it figured out. So, Michael, I did, and I'm more than happy to pull an ICX up and show you. The challenge is you can create VLANs all you want, but do you have a way to separate those VLANs out and create individual subnets for them? So if you're just connecting your ICX to, for this example, if your ICX is just connected to your cable modem, most cable modems aren't going to give you the ability to break out VLANs. And if they do, it's DOCSIS software I've never seen before. But if you have something connected to a firewall, or if you have a way to do that, the main thing is you have to be able to route this traffic. And so I think what I'll plan on doing, because we're going to start running late here, and it is getting late here, but next week I'm going to focus on the ICX as much as possible for the home implementation. And that's not to get you to come back. I'll answer your questions here. I'll go into full-on demonstrations with this next week. But yeah, you have to have a way to break these subnets out and route them. So my recommendation, if you have a guest network that you want to create in your home, the best bet that you really have is create the guest network, have your friends attached to it, and then just run client isolation on it. And that's cake, right? You go into your Wi-Fi networks. Let's I'll just create one. I'll create a guest network. My home guest access, right? You can use these for authentication. I want to put a caveat in here. Social logins, so if it's pulling up Facebook, Twitter, things like that, we don't collect that data. So we don't get your username, your password. We don't download your Facebook profile. And frankly, we don't care. It's not of any interest to us. I just realized that I'm on the wrong screen. We don't care about that information. That's yours. We don't need it, right? But you can use those for logins. You can use unique passwords, or you can do a single shared, put it in there. And then when you're done, just go into advanced options, go to access control. Nope. Priority. Where is it? Hello. Oh, it's other. And then you can go to isolate wireless clients. So your clients aren't connecting to each other at that point. Okay. But yeah, I think we'll go pretty deep into that, because if you don't have a way to route that traffic, and if you don't have a firewall that lets you really do that kind of stuff, that's tough. So it's really, really a tough thing. Okay. Any settings for range? Do we use performance compatibility mode, background scanning, autos on power channel? Okay, so you're doing some more in-depth things, right? And I'm gonna guess you're in a house that has multiple access points in it, right? That's just my guess. Let me go through these real quick. All right, Uranus, let me help you with this. So how is it working with the HCP? Because that is a regular modem, and I did not see any cable on one of the APs for the gateway mode. Okay. Let me go back to this camera view for you. I'm going to guess you have something similar to this, right? You have... Go over here. You have your cable modem. You have your access point, right? And you have your ICX. You might have other ICXs in here, I'm guessing. If that's the case, then DHCP is going to be handled from him, okay? And he's going to hand all your IP addresses out. That's typically what happens in a home environment. And if you don't have anything else any fancier than that, that's it. So if that's the case and you have a cable modem, you have an ICX, and you have an access point, that access point does not need to run in gateway mode. You have a gateway. Oops, it's him. It's that cable mode. Okay. So you don't have to run it in that mode at all. So DHCP would happen from that cable modem typically. The ICX doesn't do it. The AP doesn't need to do it. It's all handled there. Okay. And that's why everything's built in one flat VLAN. So Michael, one thing we're talking about is you're running in mesh mode. And one thing, I can show you how to do this real quick since we're getting towards the end of the stream, but the first thing we did is we helped clients if they're roaming, if you're having issues roaming, or you get into a spot in your house and you realize, man, my connection sucks. Well, the BSS min rate is what we use to change that, okay? And I just did it through the CLI in the access points themselves, and you do it in the CLI for the entire WLAN. And what the BSS min rate does is what I did is I set OFDM only. And what that says is I can only talk to clients, all clients that are not 802.11b, okay? 802.11b clients are super old. They're outdated. If we have a lot of them, we can't disable that because we'll basically isolate those clients. We don't want to do that. Now, the flip side of that is you probably don't. And it sounds like everybody that joins here is savvy enough to realize, well, we don't really need any of this. And there's also a question about PoE. And I'll help you with that. That's actually what we're helping Andrew with, is we're trying to get him into his ICX so we can get PoE turned on for him. The BSS min rate will fix that. Okay. And this is recorded. The video is on YouTube when this is done. You can go back and reference it, but you just do it through the CLI. So Rager's asking a question about smart roams. So we looked at two things, and okay, so what you need to do, Andrew, is telnet to it. So from your command window, you can just type telnet to that IP address, and it should be able to get you into it, and then you can do the inline power stuff. So smart roam profiles or smart roam factor, and then BSS min rates, support looks at these independently, okay? We try to handle the BSS min rate piece first. So if we have clients that are slow, behaving erratically, they're not really behaving the way we want them to, right? BSS min rate is the first place we start. And the reason for that is you have to keep in mind that clients make the roaming decision. The access points do not. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if I'm on my phone and this phone decides, man, my connection to this access point really sucks, and I'm using smart roaming, then it might kick it to the other access point. But the main thing with meshed access points is the roam factor that they use. They're set to the stickiest level possible. And this is across the board. This is with all vendors, okay? So when you see that, the clients have to make that decision. Well, we can force it. We can tell it that even though you're connected to a Wi-Fi WLAN in your house, even if I'm not streaming anything, if I'm not downloading email, if I'm not doing anything like that, surfing the web, there's still management and control traffic that's being transmitted between the client and the access point. Okay. Well, we want to make sure that the pipe for communication for that is as big as possible, okay, as strong as possible. So we set the BSS min rate earlier to 11 megabits per second, which means if I have two access points in my house, one upstairs, one downstairs, I'm upstairs watching Netflix, I come downstairs and I'm still watching Netflix, I might still be attached to the access point upstairs. That's not ideal. So if we set it to say, now your transmission rate is declining, now the APs in the mesh are looking at it and the client says, oh, this just really kind of fell off, it's going to toss it to the other one. Okay. And that's really the key of it, is if you can set your BSS min rate, that's the best way to do it. Okay. So let me do this. Putty. I'll go in and I'll get back into this access point and I'll show you exactly what we did. Okay. I'm just going to show you the example. I'm not going to go through it again. So log into your access point via the CLI. Okay. Enter AP mode. So you log in, you type enable, then you type AP-mode and you just do get WLAN list. Okay. This is the command. And all I did that for was because I needed to get, Andrew, type telnet, and then right behind it, put the IP address of your ICX that you found in there, and that'll put you in there. And I'm going to go through all these questions in a minute. I'm almost done. Got the WLAN list, and then this is the WLAN that we've been working on, which is the one I use for our example purposes. Okay. When I got that, I just did quit to get me out of AP mode, and then I went to config, and then I typed WLAN, the name of it, Ruckus at home. I did OFDM only. This turned off 802.11b functionality. So super old devices that you probably don't have, turn that off altogether. Okay. Then I set my BSS min rate to 12. Now this is where I would caution you. If you have clients that are connected to your 2.4 gigahertz radio, and you also have clients connected to your 5 gigahertz radio, I would set this to 11. Okay. That's the only caveat with it. Set it to 11. Once you're done, type end, then you type exit, and then if you do a show WLAN name and the name of your WLAN, it'll show you this is your transmit rate. Okay. This does it on the WLAN as a whole. So within your house, if it's on a mesh, this will make sure that your client's roam is as clean as possible. Okay. Once that connection rate starts to degrade, it says, oh, I'm not going to make it. And then it just kicks it to the other access point because the client's realizing, hey, this guy wants to drop me, and he'll just reattach to another one. Make sense? Okay. So Michael, to kind of add on to the question you were asking about the settings for range, do we use compatibility mode, background scanning? Man, honestly, this is something that you have to kind of toy with over time a little bit. And, I'm not telling you that to be short and try to shove the question off to the side. I'm telling you that because that's what we do in our daily lives here, right? Try it. If you get better performance, hey, you nailed it. If you still aren't seeing the greatest performance that you'd like to, then yeah, you can play with turning off auto power. You can change your channel widths. You can remove channel fly and move to background scanning, things like that. You're absolutely able to do that. Yep. Yeah, Jared, I'm with you. I actually have experience with PIX firewalls. That's why I have gray hair, because I'm old. Let's see. What about smart roam? Yeah, so smart roam, again, if you can do that with the BSS min rate, I think you're a lot better off. Smart roam that's a secondary option. If you need to go in and set your roam factor and just drop the stickiness down to like midway, I usually suggest 5 or 6, then you can go for that. Absolutely. Yep. And so we're going to get Andrew's inline power working. Salim, hey Matt, working on a project for Marriott Hotel where we have Chromecast. Oh man, you had to say Chromecast, didn't you? I almost made it the whole day. I streamed twice today. I almost got through the whole thing without hearing the word Chromecast, and here you come. All right, doing it on 1254. Multicast filter, drop multicast packet from associated client. Yep, so... is not on the GUI for Virtual Smart Zone, but it is on ZD1200. Oh man, it's not in there? Is there anything in it? So multicast filter, is there a way to, well, you know what? Let's find out. I have one. Look at this. I'm going to take care of you. Let me go through the rest of these questions. I'll get into a smart zone real quick. Everybody talking about PIX now. They're like, dude, why did you bring that up? That is the worst thing I've heard in years. 95 or 94. I have a smart zone. Let's poke around and see if we can find it. Oh, that's right. It's not installed on a Mac. And you have to use Homebrew to install it. What is a Telnet program for Mac that you can download real quick? There is one. Stand by. There was another one too. So, Uranus, I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did. I tried to answer it for you. If I didn't, let me know. I'm more than happy to answer it or go into more details. And then there's somebody here, user 1, can you tell there be a way to remote access the ICX to see if PoE is on remotely? Yes, you can. So, yeah, Andrew, you can download PuTTY for Mac and we'll be able to telnet to it from there. User 1, are you running on a Mac or are you running on a PC? Because that's a very crucial question. We can kill two birds with one stone. That's exactly what we're helping Andrew with right now. You're on a PC. Perfect. Okay, so do me a favor. Open up a command window just like this. And then, type this, IP config, just like that. And it should give you an IP address. Now, if it starts with 10 dot something, 192.168 dot something, or 172.16, you can tell me what it is. If it starts with anything else, don't tell me because that's a public IP address. I don't want anybody trying to get into your stuff. Okay. Once you have that, I'm going to have you ping your gateway. Or actually, you don't even have to give it to me. Do this, and you're using PuTTY. Okay. You're going to have a default gateway here. Ping it. Just ping that IP address. So ping 192.168.92.1. Hit enter. Okay. So whatever it is, ping it. Let it ping. It'll only ping 4 times, and then it'll stop. Okay. Hopefully we don't need this virtual cam anymore that's running over here because my phone battery's about to die. So I need to show you that stuff again. We'll have to wing it because my phone's gonna die. Okay. Now, once you ping it, oh, I just lost my window. Hang on. OBS is killing me. Now do this. Type ARP space -A. Okay. Yours probably won't be that long. Anything that says 224, ignore it because that deals with Salim's question. That's multicast. But you should have a 192.168. whatever address. How many do you have in there that start with 192.168? Hopefully not 25 of them, because that would be terrible. While we're doing that, 2. Okay, perfect. So what are the last numbers on them? One of them's probably .1. One of them's probably something else, right? Which hopefully is not your IP address. Or you might even know the IP address of your ICX. I'm not sure. If you do, we can get into it with PuTTY. I might be running up the wrong tree here for all I know. Okay. 1 and 255, and yes. Okay, if you know the IP address of it, telnet to it, SSH to it, whatever you're trying to do to it. And I'll show you, once you log into it, let me know. I'll pull mine up. I'll show you exactly what to do. Okay, let me make sure mine's active. It is. Okay. Salim, we need to find your multicast. So I guess, first of all, I probably have to create a WLAN, don't I? I'm having thoughts. Multicast rate limiting is there. So the ICX, oof, man, that's a tricky one. You can try, you can try Telnet. My assumption is it's probably running Telnet. If it's not running 8090, and I think it was even 8090 is when we started to enable SSH by default, it's probably running 8061 or 8070, and that was Telnet only. So if you know the IP address of it, just try to Telnet to it. I can show you how to turn SSH onto it. That's a piece of cake. Did we lose Andrew yet? Andrew, did you get into your ICX? I hope you did. Rager, you're cracking me up. Okay, you've got putty ready. So old firmware this year and Telnet was enabled. Yeah, if it's probably running 8061 or 8070. Okay, Andrew, you got putty. So did we find the IP address of his ICX? I guess I'm behind in chat. No, you're fine. That's what we're here for. Find the chat message here. I want to make sure I'm not repeating myself and boring everyone to death. Yeah. Okay. In putty, let me do this. Salim, I hate to do this, but since this is really driven at Unleashed, do me a favor. Shelve this for a second, and I'm going to make a note to cover this. I don't know if I'll have time to do it in tonight's stream, but I will absolutely get to that. And if you want, feel free, send an email to ruckuslive@comscope.com. That goes to me. I'll pull it up. I'll put it in there. I'll even get you some information and shoot it back to you, because I don't want to leave you hanging, but we also have kind of some Unleashed stuff going on and at-home stuff going on. So let's cover that first real quick, if you don't mind. So putty, let's look at this. So Andrew, here we go. So you're going to go to putty, right? And you're going to go, you should see a window like this. Oh, why isn't it showing the whole thing? What's up with that, Willis? Hang on. Okay, you should see this. Okay. And I love how that put that way up there. That's just great. Let me change this. I've had it with this different windows and views and this and that and everything else. I'm going to just pull my whole entire screen up here for you. This. Okay. You should see something like this. Okay. And you're going to have little radio buttons down here. Click on Telnet and then put the whatever IP in here. Uh-oh, wrong putty. You don't have this. Oh, you're on a Mac. It might look different. I don't even know what putty for Mac looks like, to be honest with you. Does it look like this? I'm assuming it probably does. Similar, maybe, ish. This is what you should have. Hopefully that's what you have. Let's see what you come up with here. And don't rush. I'll wait for you. I'm not going anywhere. There's other people wanting to see this as well. So I know user 1 wants to see how to check PoE. And user 1, if you need to go, I'll show you real quick. So, whoops, that's the wrong one. Once you get into it, once you first log into it, you're probably at a prompt like this with a caret. Oh, you can't see that through my little head. Type enable. Okay. And if you have passwords and stuff like that on there, it would be show IP interface. So that will show you the IP address that's configured on it. And if it was assigned via DHCP, that would be it. But once you're in there and you do enable, yep, all you have to do is you have to type show inline power. Okay. This will show you your power. Whoops. This will show you your power consumption. Okay. So it'll show you what ports are using power and which ones aren't. Okay. One thing I would recommend you do me a favor, type show version. Okay. And what you're looking for, I can make this a little bit bigger. That small. And it's probably confusing because there's a window behind it too. Non-PD still receive internet access. Absolutely. So non-PD means non-power device. So if your laptop's plugged into it, your laptop doesn't draw power through the Ethernet port, so it will say that power is turned on that port. However, the port is not providing any power to it. That's all that means. It doesn't hurt anything. It won't harm it. So you can have power turned on all your ports. That's fine. But this basically shows you some really key information. Here's your power capacity. So you have a total of 124,000 milliwatts. Current free is 78,600. Okay, so you can keep track of that. One thing I would recommend, especially if you're in it, is if you get hit with a power hit, you have the potential of losing your inline power settings just based on the version of software that you're running. So just type memory. Okay. And hit enter. This saves the config. If I reboot my ICX right now, it will do two things. One, it'll kill the stream because I'm connected to it. And the second thing it will do is it will come back up and it will keep all of the settings that I have configured on it. Every single one of them. It won't hurt it. Okay. So always do that. If you make a change, any kind of change in here, write memory. Okay. And if you want to see what ports are up, what ports are down, you do a show interface brief and it'll show you all of this. Okay. Now this is kind of important and I'm glad you brought this up. And Andrew, take your time, go find Putty. We're going to help you out. Once you get it downloaded, we'll get you in there. So user one, check this. If you see where your access points are connected and you know that's the port it's connected to, the speed should always say 1 gig. Okay. No, it can't. Second AP be connected from the Ethernet out port from AP1 and AP2 be powered by another PO. Nope. Nope, has to connect to the ICX. So the ICX itself is what is providing it power over the Ethernet cable. So it has to be directly connected to it. You can't use the power to one to power another because the port on the access point is drawing power. It's not providing it. So the access point is just being powered by it. It's not giving power out. That makes sense. Okay. But this is really key. So if your port here says 1 gig, then you're set, absolutely set. If it says 100 megabit, this is where you need either the ability to change the end on a cable, have a really good friend that's an electrician, anything like that. But I can show you that there might be an issue with it. Okay, so hopefully all your access points say 100 megabit. I have seen issues, especially in houses where it'll say, or hopefully they'll say 1 gig. I have seen issues where it says 100 meg. I mean, Ethernet out from AP1 to second PoE switch. Oh yeah, nope, it doesn't really work that way. The PoE, power over Ethernet, it's really power being received. It's the switch is sending the power out. The access point is receiving it. So the access points don't have a way to send power out of it. You would need a power injector to do that. Okay. So what you need to do, I have to find this command. If you do see this, it says 100 megabit, run this command. So run clear cable diagnostics TDR, and then I'm going to pick a random port. I'll pick 11. Okay. Clear the stats. That means I'm clearing out whatever was in there. Okay. Then do PHY cable diagnostics TDR 1 by 1 by 11. What this does is it's going to basically run a cable test. Okay. And that cable test is going to tell you what pairs are connected, what pairs aren't. So once you run the cable test, now we just have to show it. So show cable diagnostics, TDR, 1x1x11. Okay. Pair length, pair A, B, C, and D. So if you look at your cables and if you have a spare one and you take it out and you kind of get real close to it and look at it, it will actually show you there's 8 cables in there, but that means that there's 4 pairs. And this is basically telling you that all the pairs are terminated. Okay. Every single one of them. If you see 100 megabit, you will most likely see a problem on 6. Okay, and that will be the issue one. But yeah, it's a nice cable test. It's built right into the ICX. You can check it, see if you have a problem with the cable. And there you go. Okay, so Andrew, from there, type open space 192, whatever your ICX IP address is, 192.168.0.blah. Don't use blah. Okay. But yeah, that's a slick cable test. I like it. It does a really good job. And Salim, if you're still on here, the funny thing is you asked me about multicast. I can do multicast in this thing all day long. When it comes to multicast with wireless access points, my brain wants to just explode. Connection refused. All right, that's a bummer. I don't think Telnet is enabled on there. Shoot. I thought Telnet was enabled by default in 8061. So are we sure we have the right ICX IP address? I'm used to it. There is, but we need to be able to get him into the ICX first to check and make sure it's enabled. Yeah, that's the other thing. And web management's usually turned off by default as well, because if I look at mine, it's going to say that... well, this is because I had to reset it. Probably turned off. Okay, Andrew, here's the thing. We got to find a cable. So we need a USB cable. We need USB to USB-C or USB to USB. And that way we can get a connection from your laptop. And then pull up network settings for Ethernet is given. Okay, it's giving you that IP address. So we have to find the other IP addresses of it. So is it 192.168.0? Is that your subnet? Or is it 192.168.100? I am bound and determined to fix this before I leave. That's what stubbornness will get you home at midnight. I'm guessing it's either 0 or 100. It's got to be one or the other. And user one, if you looked at how far down your DHCP scope did your ICX really go? Was it .2, .10, .11? I know it picks random addresses. DHCP behaves kind of funny that way, but I don't think we're going to have to go very far to find it. Pull up network settings for Ethernet. Is giving me Ethernet IP address. Yep. Okay, subnet is good. So does it say 192.168.0 or... I don't care about the last octet. I just need to know the third. Okay, that's good to know. So the subnet, we only have 254 IP addresses we have to worry about now. So that's a good thing. Kind of willing to bet it's probably 0, but what do I know? Very little. Neither. Ooh, what is it? Do tell. .1? Was I off again? My wife would love this conversation. She would say, see, I told you you were wrong. Nope, not the subnet mask, the IP address. So it's 192.168. whatever. You can tell me the whole IP address that your computer has right now. It's not subnet IP, it should just be IP address. So it will be the 192.168. whatever. Whatever you found in the network manager. of your Mac. Give me that one. That's all I need. $192. Let me find. Here. Okay, you should see something similar to this on the right. Right? If you go in there. Nope, not this. Hold on. What am I looking for? Oh, that's IPv6, of course. Here we go. Something like this. Do you see IP address anywhere? Excuse me. You know what I'm going to do? Next week, I'm going to set up a Discord. And in that Discord, I can give you guys the link to join it. And you can go in and you can actually share your screen in Discord. And we can help walk you through everything. Making Tech Sense, thanks for coming. Man, it's you guys, the community, that makes this so much fun and really a blast to do. So thank you. Come back next week. We're going to do it again. Like I said, we're going to focus on ICX. Do some digging on your Netgear, and we'll definitely go through some firewall stuff. Look at some of that stuff as well. So bring some of that stuff with you. We'll go through it. Absolutely. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Is the Ethernet connection right now? Ethernet to... Are you talking about for me, or are you talking about for Andrew, user? Because for me, I'm on the console. Yeah, that's what we really need is a USB-C cable. My security system at home is broken. If anybody cares. Yeah, we need the console port. Mine's on the console. I need to get Andrew on the console. But yeah, Angry IP Scanner can help you. I really don't want to leave you stuck for a week. Next stream is next Wednesday. However, because what I really care about is helping you guys out and making sure this stuff works, do me a favor. Shoot me an email. It's ruckuslive@comscope.com. I can't do it tonight because it's getting super late, but tomorrow, when you get time, let me know. I'm going to set up a Discord server. I'll get you the Discord invite. You can join that. You'll just have to download Discord, create an account. It's free. It's easy. You can get into Discord. We can get into a voice channel. You can share your screen. I can see it, and I can actually walk you through exactly how to do it. Otherwise, if you can, I don't know, depending on how everything's going where you live right now, go to Fry's, Best Buy, 7-Eleven, convenience stores have them. Go grab a USB to USB cable. If you have a Mac that has a regular old big USB port, you want USB-A to USB-C. If your Mac only has USB-C ports on it like mine does, you want to go USB-C to USB-C. Do that. Shoot me an email. I'll be around tomorrow. Let me know. I'll help you get into it. We'll get you straightened out. And we'll get the ports turned on there so that your access points come on. And we'll save the configs so that if you take a power hit, they work again. But yeah, next stream, we'll be streaming again next week. I'm going to do one on Wednesday at 11 Mountain. I'm also going to do one at 7:30 p.m. Mountain. We'll cover ICX. We will answer every single question that you have. And like I said, I'll even throw the Discord out there so everybody can get into it if you need to share your screen. If you're not comfortable doing it during the stream, I'm more than happy to do it afterward. I will post the Discord channel in the stream when it's up. I'll actually use Nightbot to announce it. But yeah, it'll be there, and I think it'd be awesome to have a community come together and kind of get together and share information. The email address is ruckuslive@comscope.com. In fact, watch this. I can make it really easy on you. Because Nightbot is my friend. I have to have one. There's the email address. So everybody, thank you so much for joining. Please come back next Wednesday. If you have questions, shoot us an email. But this is by far the highlight of my job. I love doing this. I love interacting with everybody. You make this a ton of fun. So more than happy to help. Shoot questions, shoot suggestions if you want to see things on the stream. We will absolutely put those together and do them. And don't forget, these are recorded. They live on our YouTube channel. All of it's there. You can check out the entire library. We have content for everything. And Andrew, don't even worry about it, man. That's what we're here for. So happy to help. We'll get you sorted out. But yeah, like I said, next week we'll be here at 11 Mountain, and then we'll be here again at 7:30 p.m. Mountain. Can't wait for it. Again, shoot questions. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you next week. Thanks again.